Oh, yeah. We are live. Gonna give it a few moments. Give people some time to get in because we should be live on. Yep, we are live on YouTube and X. Let's see if some people pop in. And if not, I'm just gonna go ahead and breeze through everything. Gonna play with some. Let's see. I haven't been on StreamYard in a while, so there's some new things that I'm gonna experiment with here. I'll see some. So there's some new music. There's a new thing with the chat. Like the chat is visible on the screen now. Style. Let me see if anyone pops in. Got 3 people all on X, so I'm never sure how many people are actually live when we're on X. But you know what? That's enough for me. All right. Welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson. Welcome to the recap for Combate Global, Combate Female that just went live or just ended about an hour ago. So it's been a long while since I've gone live. So bear with me. A little nervous. And we've got some people on YouTube as well. First thing I'm going to ask is please hit that like button and share the stream if you'd like. But let's get into it. So we're going to talk the Combate Female fight card, recap it a little bit, and then we're going to preview the weekend a little bit. Let me get my notebook out here because I wrote some notes down about the Combate card. So there is your card there. All right, first up, let's see. Blanca Medina defeated Claudia Pizarro via first round TKO. Very one-sided, fast fight. Medina there in the yellow took Pizarro down pretty early. Easy takedown. Moved to mount. Very smooth. And then from there, she just started throwing and landing ground and pound and until the referee stopped it. I don't have the stoppage right here in front of me, but yeah, absolutely dominant performance from Blanca Medina. Let me see. What did she climb to? So Medina would have climbed to 2 and 3. Pizarro fell to 2 and 1. Nice performance from Blanca Medina there. Next up, let's see, who is this? Karen Oman defeated Catherine Machuca via unanimous decision, 30-27 on all cards. First round, I had all Oman due to control on the feet, a lot of clinching where Oman just absolutely controlled the clinch. Machuca, I thought, did better in the second round. She managed to keep it at range a little better and started to work on her strikes more. And then the third round I had was just really close. I did not have it 30-27. I had it 29-28 for Karen Oman, but I agree with the overall winner. I probably would have just scored the second round for Catherine Machuca, but again, this is an okay fight. It was entertaining. Then in the third round was a 110-pound catch weight bout. Melissa Gomez defeated, is her name Courtney or Kelly? Kelly Staden via unanimous decision. I think it was 30-27 on, or no, this one was actually 29-28 on all 3 cards. So Gomez won via decision. You know, Melissa Gomez has a very frustrating style to watch. I like her, but man, she was fighting how Devin Haney boxes, meaning she was just circling on the outside, barely, not really landing too much. And then, but at the same time, when she throws, She uses her entire length and then overextends herself, which when she finally faces a good striker, they're really going to make her pay for that. Statin, it's Statin. I misspelled it on the thumbnail, so apologies to Kelly Statin. Excuse me. Statin just could not deal with the length and reach of Gomez. And also Gomez kept circling. And for the most part, Gomez kept circling to the right. But Statin did nothing to stop it. She just kept chasing her and chasing her and chasing her. It's like, listen, you take 2 big steps to your left and you're going to stop her movement. And people are saying, well, you can't really cut off the cage when it's a big circle. It's like, yes, you can. Okay. You're going to beat her to the punch. You're going to cut off to her right. And then she's going to have to go left. But at the same time, you already are anticipating her going to left. So boom, you take 2 big steps to your right. And then that's when you can land. Or as soon as she stops going one way, boom, that's when you can strike and get inside. MMA gyms are the absolute worst when it comes to teaching footwork and cage cutting. To this day, I mean, the sport's over 30 years old. The sport's actually closer to 40 than 30 because Shudo goes all the way back to the 80s. So almost 40 years, and most MMA fighters still have terrible footwork and cannot cut off the cage. Now, credit to Kelly Statin. 3rd round came. She did not waste any time. Got the fight to the ground immediately. Got to Melissa Gomez's back. Spent the majority of the time of the round on Melissa Gomez's back. Wasn't able to get in the choke. Eventually, she kind of like let off. Transitioned to an arm bar. Looked kind of deep, but it wasn't deep enough. Let Gomez out of that, or Gomez escaped. Fight finished on the feet, but it was definitely all Kelly Statin in the 3rd round. So yeah, 29-28 for Melissa Gomez. I can definitely agree with that scoring. By the way, for those that are on YouTube, the chat is open. Just a reminder. 4th fight. Very, very one-sided fight here. Regina Terine defeated Caitlin Neal via TKO in the 2nd round. I don't have the exact time written down. Neal hadn't fought in close to 2 years and had a bunch of knee surgeries, and she just did not have the volume to compete with Terine. Like Neal would throw like a 2 or 3 punch or 2 or 3 strike combination. And then at the end, she just like stopped, like she couldn't believe that it had worked or that she was able to do it. Like she would throw those combinations and then she'd have no follow-up. And she would just like, I mean, literally just like 1, 2, 3, and then stop. Like what? You can't do that. Turns much younger, like 13 years younger, and was a very, very heavy volume striker. And by the 2nd round, she was just overwhelming Neal. So got the standing TKO due to strikes. Terine, I believe this is the last fight on her contract. Like she took this fight to fight out of her contract, and supposedly she already has a fight booked on Dana White's Contender Series. I was a little nervous about that. I will say after this fight, I'm a little less nervous for her about that because Neal is an experienced veteran. It's just, man, but at the same time, it's like she's coming off a long layoff, injuries. It's still kind of hard to measure Terine's success based off of this fight alone. But we'll see. She's still a very fun fighter to watch. Does look like a promising prospect, but we'll see. Because from the opponent I've seen that she has coming up, it's actually listed on Tapology already. Jaisla Chavez from Brazil. The girl has a 5-0 record. And none of them have any wins. So 5 wins against opponents who are all winless. So this should be a really easy fight for Tareen to win. And if she loses that, man, then she definitely does not deserve to be in the UFC yet. Main event, this was down at strawweight. Melissa Amaya taking on late notice replacement Megumi Sugimoto. Amaya just destroyed Sugimoto. Looked very much visibly bigger, which makes a lot of sense because the biggest Sugimoto's ever been has been 115 pounds, and she has competed lower than that, whereas Amaya spent most of her fights at flyweight. I think this is her second fight back down at strawweight after spending like 4 fights at flyweight, and now has moved back down to strawweight for her last 2. Just hurt her with a punch, and then followed up with the ground and pound. So, yeah. Fun result, like very fun to watch, but expected because Sugimoto came in on like a week's notice. So, but hey, hats off to her. I mean, coming all the way to the U.S. and fighting a promotion's favorite, one of their promotion's favorite fighters on short notice like that, you kind of know what you're getting into. Hopefully, they'll bring Sugimoto back for the future. So, let's see. Overall, rating for the event, I'm going to give this a B-. B- for the Combate Female card. The pluses are that, there were definitely some finishes. 1, 2, 3 finishes out of 5 fights, which is nice. But let's be honest here, the overall level on Combate cards is very low and not polished. So yeah, it's a B-. So that is it for the Combate Female review. Like I said, I wasn't going to make it very long. But let's get into a weekend preview here. By the way, friendly reminder, the chat's open. If you're on YouTube, I can't see what's going on. I can't remember if there's a chat or not on X, but thank you for all of you watching over there. So let's get into a weekend preview here. So first up, we have tomorrow on Friday, we have Eris 32 airing on UFC Fight Pass. They have a women's flyweight championship. JD Menezes, the champ. I believe she's the champ. Yes. JD Menezes, the current champ, taking on Eleni Moisedo. Menezes coming in at 5-1. Moisedo coming in at 3-0. Looks like Menezes won the title 7 months ago via submission against Alexandra Tekina, who's like a Eris mainstay. What else sticks out here? Ooh. So 38 years for the Greek fighter Moisedo to 33 for Menezes. So Menezes right on the edge of that prime age, whereas Moisedo is past her prime age at 38. Big height advantage for the Greek fighter, 5'9", 174 centimeters to 5'3", 160 centimeters for the Brazilian champion. So age favors the champ, height favors the challenger. I haven't been watching Eris in quite a while, mainly because they're on when I'm at work. So I don't really have a pick for this one, but I wanted to make sure you all knew that it was happening. Because it is like one of the bigger promotions in Europe. You have like your KSW and your Octagon up here. And then below that would be like your Eris and your Hexagon. So they're like in that middle. And so it's definitely important to watch. And it's easily accessible because it's on Fight Pass, which I imagine most of you have. Then Friday or tomorrow night, LFA 211 has two ladies bouts. First one is this one between Gigi Canuto and what's that girl's name? Flor Hernandez at strawweight. Canuto coming in at 5-1. Hernandez coming in at 4-2. Nothing really stands out stat wise. Hernandez coming in off of 2 straight losses. One of her most recent fight was 10 months ago. Before that, she had a fight 2 years ago. She was fighting at atomweight too. So let's see. Canuto's coming in off of a win 8 months ago. Before that, dropped a decision a year and a half ago. And Canuto is the LFA mainstay here. She is the LFA fighter, and she's fighting someone coming in off of 2 losses and moving up in weight. Canuto. The pick is Canuto. You know, it's amazing how if you paid just a little bit of attention, you can see what these promotions are trying to do with some of these fights. And like people talk about how the UFC does this, man, it is even worse when you go outside the UFC. And it's like the push for certain fighters just becomes that much more obvious. Okay, so then we move up to the main event. Bantamweight Championship. Beatriz Bia Mesquita taking on Sierra Dinwoody. Both of these ladies are undefeated at 4-0. Now, Mesquita last fought about a little over 3 months ago, won via disqualification against Hope Chase. Before that, had a submission over Fernanda Araujo. Dinwoody coming in off of a win 3 months ago via decision. Before that, had another decision also over Hope Chase. So these two share an opponent in Hope Chase, both of them under the LFA banner. Dinwoody is the younger fighter, 29-34 for Bia Mesquita. Look at this height. Listen to this height advantage. You can't look because you're not looking at it. 5'11", 180 centimeters for Sierra Dinwoody to 5'4", 163 centimeters for Bia Mesquita. And man, you can see every bit of this height difference. I'm gonna pull up Instagram because I really want you all to see this. It is that pronounced from the weigh-in face-offs. Let me just find it here. So is there one that doesn't have music? Oh. All right, so found that. Boom, look at this. It doesn't look that bad in this one, in the video. But, why is it doing that? Check out that height difference between Bia Mesquita and Sierra Dinwoody. Whew. As far as picks go for this one, LFA is absolutely pushing Bia Mesquita, and they want her to win. Like, they've been giving her very, very winnable fights so far, which, I mean, at 4-0, yeah, that happens. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that how do I say this? I would not be surprised if Ed Suarez, the guy who owns LFA, I'm pretty sure that he manages Bia Mesquita too, which in boxing, illegal in the US. MMA, totally allowed. So you can manage a fighter and promote them. But yeah, and so I always look towards who does, especially with LFA. Like I was saying, you could see this in a lot of promotions, but LFA, they're painfully obvious. There are certain types of fighters, and at least among the ladies, I've noticed this pattern. There are certain types of fighters that LFA pushes over others. For a long time, if it was an LFA fight, bet on blonde. They haven't brought in too many blonde fighters lately, so it's usually bet on Brazilian. And Mesquita's the Brazilian. And I haven't watched too many Dinwiddie fights. But man, if she can, if Dinwiddie can use that length and that height to maintain distance, it's going to be a long night for Mesquita because her striking is terrible. They're really trying to push Mesquita to try to get into the UFC. Of course, she's 34, so she kind of has to rush it. But either way, win or lose in this fight, she's not UFC ready. I'll maintain that no matter what. But if I were a betting person, I'd probably have to go with Mesquita. Then we have PFL, which I'm going to big screen this for y'all. It really doesn't do anything anyway. I have no interest in the PFL this year. I'll be honest. Without Tyler Santos, they lost the best fighter in the division. Dakota Ditcheva's not in it either. So there goes the interest from that. But without Tyler Santos, who would have been the clear front runner, having beaten everybody of value in this tournament, there's just not a whole lot to go on. So rather than go through all the stats, I'm going to go through the fights and give you who I think. This is for the semifinals for the flyweight world tournament too. So alternate bout between Soraya Orozco and Alara Joani. I'm going to go Joani. Orozco, she just doesn't fit in at flyweight. Like, you're a career strawweight. Shakalova versus Jenna Bishop. This is a tough one. Shakalova is very good on the ground, but is she as good as Bishop? I don't know. I think the biggest thing that's going to be holding Bishop back in this is the age factor. I didn't realize that she's like 39 years old. I just found out like a few weeks ago, where Shakalova is 27. Cardio could play a big factor here the longer the fight goes on. And that's going to favor Shakalova. So I lean towards Bishop, but I think the longer the fight goes on, the better chances I give Ekaterina Shakalova. Up on the main card, they only ever put one ladies bout on the main cards for PFL. Liz Carmouche versus Laura Dana. Dana looked impressive in her last bout when she beat Diana Avsaragova. But I haven't been impressed with Avsaragova in a long time. One thing I will say about Dana is that she is an absolute finisher. At least looking at her last 5 fights, they've all ended with a finish. Carmouche is getting up there in age. Having said that, she is still the best fighter in this tournament. So I'm going to go with Liz Carmouche, who to put on an absolutely boring, well, maybe not boring, an absolutely forgettable performance. That is one thing you can count on Liz Carmouche. Whether she wins by decision or decision, you're going to forget about it. Like, none of her fights are memorable. Moving on to Saturday. So Hexagon has 2 ladies bouts on it on Saturday. Check their social media for how to watch, because I'm not sure. First bout is at looks like a catchweight bout. Ava So taking on Larissa Nijman. I'm going to pronounce that Nijman. Probably not how it's pronounced because it's German. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Niggemann. This white boy ain't dumb enough to try to mispronounce that. I don't know anything about these two. Ava So is 3-3, coming off of 2 straight wins via TKO and ground and pound, and then a rear naked choke submission. Before that, had lost 3 straight. Larissa N, coming in off of 2 straight wins via rear naked choke, but has not fought in 2 years. Just by the activity alone, I'm probably going to take Ava So. Then also at catchweight, or does that say flyweight? I think it says flyweight. Okay, from what I can kind of see on the poster, it looks like the first fight's at bantamweight, and then the second one is at flyweight. That's going to be Morgan DeHay taking on Kelly Hemming. Hemming making her pro debut, looks like, won her last 3 straight fights as an amateur, all in Gamma, like one of those Gamma 1 weekend tournaments. Looks like she finished all of her opponents there. DeHay last fought 2.5 months ago, picked up a decision. Before that, fought 10 months ago, also win by decision. So a pro debut versus someone with 4 pro fights already. If I had to pick, I'd go with the experienced fighter, but sometimes you never know with these amateur tournament winners. So that's Hexagon. That's in France. Check their social media for how to watch UFC Fight Night Baku in Azerbaijan. Let's see what we got here. So first up, both of the ladies' fights are on the prelims, and they're all European fighters. First up, at bantamweight, and they're both bantamweight too. So definitely, I mean, none of these girls are ranked, I believe, but they're all in that bantamweight division and all fairly young. So keep an eye on these because these might be the future of the bantamweight division. So first up, we have Irina, the Russian Ronda Alexieva, taking on Claudia Segula. Let's see, Alexieva coming in at 5-2, Segula coming in at 6-2. Both ladies coming in off of a loss. For Alexieva, it was to Melissa Mullins a year and 8 months ago. Before that, had a win 2 years ago over Stephanie Egger. I don't think Egger's even in the UFC anymore. Segula lost her UFC debut 7 months ago, also to Melissa Mullins. So, and Melissa Mullins is on this card, so these two have a common opponent. All right. Segula's younger fighter, 26-34. They're the same height, although at 5'8", 173 centimeters, although Alexieva has the reach advantage at 66 inches, 168 centimeters to 59 inches, 150 centimeters for Segula. Segula used to be a training partner of Karolina Kowalkiewicz. They're both out of Lodz, Poland. This one's a toss-up to me. Very much a toss-up. I mean, Segula's been more active recently. That works in her favor, but yeah, that's a toss-up. Moving on, also, the very next fight on the card is going to be Daria Zelevnikova taking on Melissa Mullins, again at bantamweight. Let's see, the Iron Lady, Daria, coming in at 9-2. No Mullins coming in at 7-1. So Daria is coming in off of a loss 8 months ago to Eileen Perez via submission. Before that, had won her UFC debut against Montserrat Rendon, and had a win 2 years ago in Eris. Mullins coming in off of she's 2-1 in the UFC so far. So she won her debut against Serena Alexieva. That was a year and 8 months ago. Lost a TKO to Nora Connolly. That was a year and 2 months ago. And then won via TKO ground and pound over Claudia Sigula 7 months ago. So mixed results for both of these ladies in the UFC so far. Let's see. Mullins is the elder fighter, 33-29 for Zeleznayakova. The Russian is taller at 5'9", 175 centimeters to 5'7", 170 centimeters for Mullins. And the reach is identical, 68 inches, 173 centimeters to 68 inches, 173 centimeters for Mullins. So identical reach, but the height favors the Iron Lady, so usually they're able to use their reach better. Usually. I'm going to go with Mullins on this one. You know, the Russian ladies so far in the UFC have just overall not been impressive. I don't know what it is with the Russian lady MMA fighters that get to the UFC. To me, they're just very unimpressive. I don't know. Like, they're just not, like, they show a lot of promise coming in, and then as soon as they get to the UFC, they kind of fumble. Take that as you will. So that's for Saturday. Last event I want to talk about is on Sunday. Samurai Fight House 22 in Argentina. Looks like it's free on YouTube. Main event, strawweight championship. Camila Reynoso taking on the challenger, Xiomara Perez. Reynoso is 6-0. Come on, Topology. And La Pitbull Perez coming in at 13-5. Both ladies are native, or no. Reynoso is from Argentina. Perez is from Uruguay. Reynoso undefeated. Perez coming in off of a loss 2.5 months ago in LFA, probably in one of the Brazilian shows that LFA puts on. Nice age difference here. Reynoso is only 21. Perez is 29. Reynoso also taller at 5'4", 163 centimeters to 5'1", 155 centimeters for Perez. Here's what I mean, and you can look at some of these shows and just know, what they're doing. And like how they're trying to get a certain outcome. Now, you can't predetermine an outcome in MMA necessarily. I mean, you could, but that's illegal. But there are ways to basically help ensure a certain outcome, and the matchmaking is a big deal. Xiomara La Pitbull Perez on Tapology. Her record is 13-5. I'm going to go up her entire record starting at the beginning. Her first fight, her pro debut, fights someone 0-2, loses. Next fight, fights Laura Ballin, who is 8-2, loses. You should lose to an 8-2 fighter when you're 1-0. That's no, we'll forgive that one. Her next 1, 2, 3, 4, her next 4 straight opponents are all listed as making their pro debut. She wins them all. Then she takes on a fighter, Maybelline Lima, who is 6-0. Perez loses a decision. Her next opponent is 0-2. She wins. Then her next 2 fights are listed as debutantes. She wins those. She fights Laura Ballin again. Laura Ballin coming in at 10-3. Perez at 8-2. Perez loses to her again. Her next fight, 0-1. Her opponent, 0-1. She wins that one. Next opponent after that was 0-6. She wins that one. Then she fights Gabriela Campo, 11-3. Loses. Fights another debutante, wins that one. Fights someone 1-3, wins that. Fights someone who is 6-3. So her 15th fight, she finally picks up a win over someone with a positive record of 6-3. Now, she was 12-4 at the time, taking on someone 6-3. She wins that one. Then her very next fight, fights an undefeated fighter, Gabriela Fujimoto at LFA, undefeated at 6-0. What does Perez do? She gets choked out in the first round. So she has 1 win against someone with a winning record at 18 fights. You can kind of see how Samurai Fight House, which is based out of Argentina, you can kind of see how they're kind of helping their young, relatively inexperienced champion to get a win. So just something that you watch the sport long enough, you learn to look at things a certain way. Like, I got into an argument with someone in the Combate Global chat, live stream chat, about, oh, they have the greatest ratings. Their ratings are all this. Okay, if you look at their ratings, okay, the whole number only shows one part of this. But what you really need to look at when you're looking at ratings is, are they keeping a steady number throughout the show? Combate Global does not. If anything, their highest numbers are always at the beginning of their show, and then it steadily drops off from there. So you can take what you're given up front, but usually what promoters are doing, they're doing something here. It's called sleight of hand. It's what magicians do. So don't just look at someone's, win and loss record. Look at what they're actually doing in their career as well. All right, so there you have it. The Combate Female recap plus the weekend preview. Definitely some fights I'm looking forward to this weekend. The Bia Mosquito fight is definitely one I'm looking forward to. Of course, I'll watch the UFC fights. Okay, I guess there's not a whole lot I'm looking forward to, but there's definitely some. But it's been a quiet night in the YouTube chat. Don't know what's going on there, but thank you to the people watching on YouTube. Hit that like button. People on X, thank you for watching. I don't know how many of you there actually are. It says 9. I don't trust X numbers, but if there are 9 people, hey, thank you. So thanks for watching my first live stream in a long time. Starting to get back in a groove. We're trying to, so we'll see if we can get back to doing weekly shows eventually. Anyway, thank you for watching tonight. Head over, if you're on X, head over to YouTube, into the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Combate Global tonight in the comments. And thank you for watching. And let me put on some music. Yeah. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. Combate Global, listen, the fights, they're not high level, but they're always fun. So that's a reason to watch them. In spite of all ignore all the BS that I get involved in surrounding Combate. tune in to watch some fun fights, because the ladies do put on some fun fights, even if they're not always the highest level. But they're fun. They're still worth watching because they're fun and exciting. And then, so we got a couple events on Fight Pass tomorrow, and some other events on YouTube. Tune into those. Listen, I know lately people are just so sick and tired of the UFC, and I am too. Like, believe me, I am sick and tired and fed up with the UFC just not producing for us anymore. And the Apex warehouse slop. It is 2025. Stop putting on fights in warehouses or studios or whatever. Listen, if it's a 4-wall metal building, it's a freaking warehouse, okay? Get out there, put on shows for a live audience, and that goes for every promotion. Hey, credit to PFL. They just fumble over and over and over again. But they said, you know what? We listened to our audience, because they were trying to be in like the same studio as like TNA Wrestling or whatever. I think it was they were doing. And they said, you know what? We're going back on the road. And then cheap tickets too. Minimum, like the cheapest tickets to their events are going to be $25. I got to applaud PFL for that. That's what you got to do. The majority of fans want to go to live events. They don't want to sit and watch studio show after studio show after studio show where there's zero freaking atmosphere, 10 people in the audience clapping. No, we want to go watch live events. You know, the reason the UFC keeps doing so well and keeps selling out the live events they do, in spite of rising ticket prices, is because people want something to go do on the weekends. That's why people are paying out the butt for overpriced UFC tickets, because they like to go watch fights live. Even if you're up in the nosebleeds and you can barely see and you're watching on the big screen most of the time, guess what? That's still usually better than watching fights at home and watching a studio event with zero atmosphere. Because when you watch fights live in person, it is an experience like no other. So hats off to PFL at least for doing that. UFC, you gotta do more fights live in person. Combate Global, stop being cowards. Get out of that stupid studio in Miami. Go put on some fights. Prove that you actually do have an audience. Haven't heard anything out of Invicta for a while. They were supposed to have an event this month in June. That got canceled. Supposed to have an event next month. We'll see. I don't know what's going on with Invicta lately. I only have one source that tells me what's going on with them, and that's a single fighter who can only give me events on news on, like, as far as what's going on with what she's doing. Good cider. What else do I want to talk about? Is there anything else I want to talk about? Put out a video earlier about Octagon putting on a bantamweight championship match in August. Go check that out if you haven't yet. As soon as I log off here, I gotta finish putting together a video, Rise and Fight announcements, including a super atomweight championship. So I'll be working on that. Keep an eye out for that. If you don't stay up on later, just check it out in the morning. But that'll be coming as well. And I have like a whole list like this long, like maybe like 10 lines long of videos that I need to get working and put on. There's a couple of fight reviews from last weekend I still want to do, even though tomorrow's already Friday. So we'll see what I can get done. Yeah, all right, that's enough. That's enough me yapping. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.